Well, in charge of the fight against tax evasion and avoidance is the Treasury, and a little earlier I spoke to the department's Chief Secretary, Danny Alexander. I asked him why the government doesn't just enforce tax laws on the overseas territories.
We're not saying that people shouldn't be able to be tax competitive, but we are saying, even in a regime that's tax competitive, what's important is to ensure that the tax is actually paid and that the information is shared with other jurisdictions so that we can apply our laws and our tax policies to those people's incomes and make sure that there isn't anything dubious going on.
Why don't you just order them to do that? Because you do have the power.
The point is, today we have had the Prime Minister, who has shown a brilliant leadership of this agenda through the presidency of the G8, has sat down today with all of those places. They've all signed up to the things I've just explained to you, and I think that is very, very good progress.
But the overseas territories say that all they've signed up to is an action plan. They haven't signed up to automatically sharing all their information. Why don't you just order them to do that? Because you do have the power.
Firstly, they've signed up to the Global Convention, which means they will share information with any other jurisdiction that needs it upon request. Secondly, in terms of the automatic exchange of information, there's a pilot going on, which the UK and other European countries have been putting together, which they've agreed to take part in, which is to look at how you can go about doing that and actually start the process of sharing within that smaller group. And then thirdly, action plans on beneficial ownership. And that's an area where I think that there is room for strengthening, particularly in some of the overseas territories.
And just for clarity, this has nothing to do with Google, Amazon, Starbucks and all those multinationals that people are so worried about at the moment.
There's another agenda about the behaviour of multinationals, but the bottom line is that the UK government, along with some of our European partners, is leading a global agenda here, which is in the end about making sure that everyone pays their fair share of tax, and that jurisdictions, whether it's the UK or other countries in the world, particularly developing countries, are able to ensure that they collect the revenues they should be collecting.
Now, this G8 was due to be dominated by the tax argument, but once the Russians get here, it's likely to be overtaken by the argument about Syria. As a Liberal Democrat, are you happy about arming the rebels?
Well, look, what we know is that the government there has been using chemical weapons as part of the set of heinous crimes that are being committed by a very brutal and dictatorial regime. We have a responsibility, I think, to look for what are the right things we can do to try and get that country to the right place. We're a long way from making any decision.
But do you support arming the rebels?
Speaking personally, and as a Liberal Democrat, the test I would apply is any proposed action actually going to make a difference? I don't think that case is proven yet. We're going to debate that within the government over the coming weeks, and we'll see what conclusion we reach.